So because I am an entrepreneur and chose to do that and got into property investing, what has happened is that has enabled me to choose the life that I want to live, and the property investing and other sources of income from fund my lifestyle to do what I love to do. I've got a playful persona called the Curious Connector. And in my role, what I do now, what is my mission? Is to bespokely connect people to opportunities. And I didn't realise till this year that is what I actually did, and I'm good at it. So I can meet anybody and they can tell me what their needs are, what they want. And usually I can find something to connect them to help them on their way. Sometimes it's transformational, sometimes it's not. So that's my mission, bespokely connecting people to opportunities. My vision is this: I connect curious people worldwide so that everybody is inspired and enabled to create their own shappiness. So that is my vision, and I undertake my mission to achieve my vision. Worldwide, yes, because now what I've done is I've worked towards working with people right across the globe so that I connect them with opportunities. So that big spider's web for me. So I spent 50 years working towards freedom. And this is why that pitch is quite significant to me, because what had happened was I'd finished my degree in geography. And I'd also got my black belt in judo when I was 18. No, when I was 18, I'd been doing judo from the age of 15 to 18, got my black belt, reserved for the national squad. I think I've been an American champion as well. A few national champions. I got reserved for the national squad. But when I was 19, I had climbed up a cliff and I had ripped my shoulder and I had dislocated my shoulder about 40 foot up a cliff. Another change that happened to me. So after 3 years of aspiring to be in the British women's judo squad, becoming national champion, well, silver for the British students in 1982. In June 82, my life, everything I hoped for had been completely destroyed because I could not move my shoulder. Judo had given me the ability to realise that no matter what injuries had happened, I could always overcome them. But imagine that, being 18, the world at your feet, you've got what you've aimed for. I trained 6 days a week, went to competitions, went running and all sorts of things. I was fit in those days. And then I ripped my shoulder up a cliff. No one understood, and I couldn't do what I loved and what I was passionate anymore. My whole future was ripped, completely ripped, literally. So what happened was this: I realised that change was happening. I didn't realise it was self-sabotage in those days, but I had to let go of what was, and that made me angry. I felt guilty that I'd let myself down. All the things that I was saying to people, I couldn't do them anymore. What I loved, I lost. Luckily, in my eyes, I was not at my parents' house. I didn't have to go through telling them that I can escape from people. So I was facing so many mental health challenges. So I went to America and I taught judo because in 1985, I actually did have a shoulder operation in the January. And I was able to get fitter. And I did a judo coaching award. That's how I got to America. And taught judo. So in June 84, not 83, okay, I was standing there at the Statue of Liberty and I thought, what's going to happen? And I also began to work for a mental health charity. Well, it was a hospital in Portsmouth since 1991 as a practitioner. And in 2001, I decided to stop my career as a secondary school teacher with a good pension, so I was told, to shift into the world of entrepreneurship. And I died on the 26th of September, 2008. At that point, I thought, what's it all about? What's it for? And what I did was I gave up the reflexology. I just stopped it. I closed the business down. I faced lots of mental health challenges, so the running helped. So the business stopped, went back to a job. I was never happy, although I was living my dream in my job, what I love to do. But every time I was on my own, then we had the opportunity to apply for redundancy in 2015. So I applied for redundancy at work after 30 years of working for the same organisation in terms of teaching, although not secondary school education. So me and my husband made some plans. We go travelling. So, and my daughters were about to go off to university soon. So we made these plans. And then after a couple of months, what happened was my husband faced redundancy as well. At the same time, my father-in-law, he had been diagnosed with Pick's disease, which is a form of dementia. So we became the main carers with my mother and father-in-law. So plans were on hold. And then by November 2016, I was feeling nothing. I felt numb and I lost sense with everything. I was completely disengaged. Disassociation happened, right? Complete separation with the mind body. There was no mind body. It was mind, body, nothing really. So, but then in February 2017, I started to think something's got to happen. And an opportunity came up in November to go to a property talk. Now, I'd always worked in education all my life. And in terms of talks, I thought they were about just being educated about property. And I thought this, you see, I thought what Jim Rohn says, if you don't like how things are, change it. You are not a tree. So what I decided to do in February was I paid £1,000 to go on a course. And it was all about property investing. And for the first time in my life, I felt for a long time since 2008, I actually felt alive and excited. And so what I did was I decided to spend till the 1st of April deciding if I wanted to carry on with my life that I didn't like or begin to change things. And I decided to commit to property investing on the 1st of April 2017. I think it was my biggest April Fool's joke on me. And this was my challenge. I would give myself 2 years, just 2 years to commit full out to finding out about property in the UK. I didn't have much money, a couple of grand in the bank, and I would change my life. I would give it my all. And in 2 years, on the 1st of April 2019, I'd be in a different place, which would be, I didn't know if it would be happy. But what I planned was that I would buy and rent out, refurbish 4 single buy-to-lets, because in Britain, we say for us buy-to-let, if you can cash flow 250 quid per property, what that would mean is that 4 properties in 2 years, that would mean that I would get £1,000 cash flow a month. And I would be able to choose to reduce my hours in a job that I liked, because I was helping people in a new job with a mental health charity, or I could give up work. So that was it. And on the 1st of April 2017, in the 21st century, I made the decision to change. I set my plan out and I vowed that by the 31st of May 2017, I would have an offer accepted on a property. I was excited, if you can imagine. I still did my job. We still cared for the parents. But on April the 26th, 2017, this saying, time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time. Well, as I didn't have much money, I thought, well, I can get more money. But I thought, I'm coming up now to 55, and my pension age, my government pension age, has been taken back to the age of 67. I'd have to wait much longer. And I just could not see myself in a job until I had a pension, relying on one source of income. And what happened was I got home. I was excited. I got loads of meetings planned with the projects I was involved in. And I thought, I need to ground. I need to calm myself down. I know I'll paint the ceiling of my kitchen. I painted the ceiling. And at 10 minutes past 10 in the evening on the 26th of April 2017, I finished painting the ceiling. I was really happy. Then what happened was I rearranged everything so I could step down. And I stepped down onto a stool, but it moved. and my foot, I just fell on the floor and I smashed my foot, and I ended up perpendicular on the floor to where I wanted to be, and I smashed my ankle bones, and I had 8 fractures in my ankle bones, and I nearly died. And on the 8th of May, I had an operation, and can you see that contraption on my foot? That was where I was. I had an operation. I was bedridden and dependent on others for my basic needs. It took me from my bed to my ensuite 2 hours to crawl across the floor, go to the loo, get back and recover. That's what it was like. I was living on painkillers. I was determined not to give up to what I was going to achieve, and that was the viewing. So I would dream, I would visualize, and I would feel the feeling of being able to move my toe, my big toe on my right leg without pain. And walking was out of the question, but I knew that one day I would walk, and it was hoped that I would walk. I had crutches and I had that metal contraption. It was described as sitting in a Land Rover and a bomb going off under the Land Rover. That's the sort of injury it was. But what happened was, in May, at the end of May, when I felt like giving up on the 23rd of May, and this is often what happens, you reach a point called, I call it the vortex of despair or the valley of doom. I just felt like giving up because what I wanted just did not seem as though it was going to happen. And then what happened? I said, I'm giving up. I've had enough. I want a rest. Just give me a rest. Let me go to sleep in bed. And then my sister-in-law sent me a little message through. What about this house, Sharon? And I was so shattered. I said to her, can you just go and have a look at it? So she did. And she said, it's all right, Sharon. It's the right price. So what happened was, at the end of May, about the 25th of May, 2017, I set up viewings for 6 properties. And my husband had to drive me to Stoke-on-Trent, 200 miles from home. I was dosed upon painkillers. And what happened was that I made an offer on the property. It was accepted by the 31st of May. And I was still in that pain, but at least I'd not given up with my goals. Really, if you do really want to do something, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an excuse. So finding an excuse was not for me at all. No matter what, that ankle, those breaks in the ankle were not an excuse. They were not a reason not to do it. It was just a reason to find more of me, to pull me out of where I needed to go, to focus on what I wanted to do. I did not want to be in 2 years in this position at the mercy of everybody and everything. In my mind, that's the story I told myself. Your first deal will take time. Well, it actually took from the 1st of April to the 1st of September 2017 to purchase my first property, little buy-to-let. You're going to make mistakes. I made a few of them, including that broken leg. I should not have painted the ceiling. I should have got back to the painter who let me down at the last minute and said, I'll wait for you, but I shouldn't have done that. You'll question yourself lots. Well, I certainly did question myself a lot in bed. I was stuck in bed alone, talking to myself, wondering why it happened. Why am I doing this? What am I doing it for? What's the reason? You're going to feel a bit lost at times. Well, I felt lost. I can tell you, I was lost in a bed. I was lost in my mind, not knowing what I was going to do. You will have hard conversations. Well, those hard conversations were there with me. I avoided most people. I was quite lucky in the fact that I was stuck at home in bed. My daughter was just with me, and she was 17, so she didn't really have to spend much time for me, apart from bringing me up my breakfast and my cups of coffee. Right, next one. You must get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Well, I certainly was uncomfortable. I had to get comfortable with taking the drugs to keep the pain away. And I had to be uncomfortable with everything. I knew nothing about property investing. I didn't have any money. I had a few £1,000s in the account. So, pardon me, I just had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. It was a do something different approach where it was all new. I started not knowing anything. I couldn't even put up a bookcase. I did buy a bookcase once, and I gave up, took it to IKEA and asked them to put it up for me. So I couldn't do DIY. Nothing. But what I did do was I had a number of things that I applied to everything I did. This ISA principle kept me strong through my life, from a kid that wanted to be free, in my judo career, in the injuries, in the changes that I went through from the age of 10. And first of all, what is important, that I had to identify what I wanted and why I wanted it. That was really important. So when I was 15, I identified that I liked judo, and I identified that I wanted my black belt in judo, and I wanted to be a judo teacher. Why I wanted it? Well, I wanted it because I wanted to have some form of control over my life. I wanted to achieve something. I wanted to get that black belt because I wanted to feel safe when I walked the streets. I wanted to be fit. There were lots and lots of reasons why I wanted it. The same as the property. What I wanted was, at that time, was simply 4 buy-to-lets in my own business, providing an income so I could have more freedom in my life. Commit to the commitment. That's the C. You know your goal, and I knew my timescale. In this case, it was 2 years here with this business, and I planned it. So that was it. I was committing to it. So the fact that I went through the leg injury and I didn't have any money, it was not an excuse not to do it. I just kept going, moving forward, even when I couldn't walk. Okay. And I kept planning, and I had my timescales for lots and lots of things, lots and lots of little actions that I was going to do. So I started with the end in mind, with what I wanted. The why kept me going through it, and the action was really important. But before I could have the action, I would need to have that commitment. It started in my mind. Once I committed to the commitment of what I wanted and why I wanted it and achieving my goal, I just got on with the actions. And when I couldn't do some things, there was lots and lots of other things to do. And I did this all on my own for the first few months. And then I got a couple of property coaches to help me, 2 ladies. They helped me on the way. So with the support and the network that I had, I was able to do what I wanted to do. And all the way through, what I did, how I did it, was to realign always to what I wanted, why I wanted it, and how. So every day I would journal. Every week I would identify my progress. Every week I would have a little meeting with myself, a weekly accountability meeting, and I would write down and identify what went well, what didn't went well, and what I was going to change the next week. So I continually realised. So because I applied the ISA strategy, particularly through the challenges that I had with myself, it meant that I could stay close to me. I could be my North Star. Sounds a bit silly, but I was magnetised to what I wanted to do, and I just focused on what I wanted to do. So no matter what happened in terms of change, no matter what was thrown at me through my life, I've spent 50 years with this ISA approach, and I've lived it. I've worked since 1984 till just recently with mental health organisations, and I've been an advocate. I've trained volunteers and advocates, and although we stick within the criteria of working with and helping clients, the key thing is enabling people to identify what they want, committing to what they want to commit to, supporting them in executing the actions. And when we meet with them regularly, and in my case, it was meeting with me, it was realigning what they wanted to do to make sure that what they wanted, why they wanted it, and how they were going to get it. And really, to do that, you need to connect with yourself, and with the support from others and yourself, you can achieve it. In no matter what circumstance. Me, I'm Sharon Griffiths. I'm a curious collector. That's what I'm known as. I now call the education sector the curious connector, curious sector, all the way through what you do. What is really important to raise your energy level and keep yourself going, and know the value of you and what you do, the value of you for you, the value of you for other people. is it's not about always going on to the next thing. It's not just execution, execution, execution. Sometimes you just have to stop and be. That's where the realignment comes in. But so many people I've known, and this is what contributes to a lot of mental health challenges, okay, is beating yourself up. If you're not self-compassionate, you don't show yourself love, and you keep going on the guilt trip saying, I should have, if only I'd have. It means that you're not being kind to yourself. So if you can acknowledge your achievements along the way and be kind to yourself and say, I did it, I'm brilliant, I'm great, I'm achieving my goals bit by bit, step by step. By doing that all the way through of what you're doing, that gives you a feel-good factor, because very often people, they don't acknowledge their achievements, they don't acknowledge how brilliant they are, they brought themselves to now. So that is really, really important. But that's a few things that I've told you from the last 50 years of my life. And only by writing the books and with coaches and mentors have I actually began to go deeper into me. And what I've realized recently is the darkness comes along, the challenges come along. And by digging into finding your winning formula to help you get through them, by knowing yourself more, you can actually get comfortable with being uncomfortable and not beating yourself up about it.